Hey, welcome back. We are in chapter 4 of On the Heavenly Spheres, and we are starting on page 29, about halfway down, under the mm, subtitle Gender, Masculine and Feminine. Just as previously sta- just as previously stated, everything in the manifest universe can be classified into two genders or polarities, feminine and masculine. The classification masculine often refers to the extroverted and active expression, while the term feminine refers to the inverted and receptive expression. However, in the case of planets, it is their effect or manifestation that is classified, not the planet as an entity. We might consider that the planets are essentially neutral, being capable of manifesting either feminine or masculine qualities. Nevertheless, in their effects, certain polarities may predominate. Again, it is the primary qualities that are the basis of this classification. Thus, the essentially humid planets, such as Moon and Venus, have a predominantly feminine expression and are given the feminine gender. The essentially hot and dry planets, such as the Sun, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn, tend towards the masculine again. Mercury is considered neutral and capable of expressing both tendencies depending upon the circumstances. When a planet is positioned in a feminine sign, its expression will be feminine. More reserved and discreet, when situated in a masculine sign, it acquires a masculine expression, more direct and visible. In good terms, a planet is considered to be more comfortable and stable when it finds itself in the same polarity, masculine planets and masculine signs, and feminine planets and feminine signs. In the inverse situation, masculine planets and feminine signs, and feminine planets and masculine signs, the expression of the planet occurs less easily because it is assuming a role contrary to its natural expression. It's getting late. Sect, diurnal, and nocturnal. This classification arises from the basic division between day, dominated by the sun, and night, governed by the moon. Diurnal sect contains the planets that have an affinity with the day. Their expression is facilitated by heat and the dryness of the day, which equate to a more extroverted, active, and visible expression. The nocturnal sect includes the planets whose expressions are enhanced by the humidity and cold of the night and is characterized by more introverted, reflective, and discrete expression. The diurnal planets, the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, are and the nocturnal planets, the Moon, Venus, and Mars. The classifications of the Sun as diurnal and the Moon as nocturnal are self-evident because the former defines the actual day and the latter is the celestial body that illuminates the night. Jupiter, as a masculine and hot planet, has an expansive and active expression when diurnal, while Venus, a feminine and moist planet, has a more natural expression when nocturnal. Saturn and Mars are special cases because their classification does not come from the affinity between sect and the essential nature, as in the case with the others. Since we're dealing with planets that are considered malefics, a different criteria is used. Instead of emphasizing its natures, we seek to moderate it. For this reason, it is associated with a sect that compensates for its excesses and makes its expression more constructive. Thus, Saturn is integrated into the diurnal sect so that its extreme cold is mitigated and its destructive expression tempered by the heat of the day. The paralyzing and covert actions of this planet are compensated for by the activity and visibility of daytime. On the other hand, Mars, an extremely hot and dry planet, has its expression moderated by the cold and humidity of nighttime. The hair. Sorry. The abruptness and sharpness belonging to Mars are in this way compensated for by the reflective and introverted nature of the night. Mercury, being a neutral planet, can have both a nocturnal or diurnal expression, depending on its position by sign and its relation to the sun. Insert me figuring out what I always thought was my Mercury by sign, which is feminine. Nope, it's masculine. Okay. All right. Anyway, sex implication in planetary expression. Similar to gender, the nocturnal and diurnal condition of a planet affects its expression. A diurnal planet will have a stronger and more stable expression when it is located in the diurnal hemisphere, while the averse occurs with the nocturnal planet. The sun is the most important factor since it marks the separation between day and night. Obviously, when it's located above the horizon, the horoscope is classified as diurnal, and when it is below the horizon, the horoscope is nocturnal. Jupiter and Saturn are diurnal if they are above the horizon in a diurnal horoscope, and below the horizon in a nocturnal horoscope, or expressed in another way, when they are on the same side as the horizon of the sun. The Moon, Venus, and Mars are considered nocturnally positioned when they are below the horizon in a diurnal horoscope. That is, when they are on the side of the horizon opposite the sun. The condition of Mercury, neutral planet, depends upon its position by sign and other factors. Yeah. I was gonna maybe show this chart. But I can't read it. But you can look at it. Okay. Let's see. Characteristics of the 7 planets. We're getting into the meat, you guys. Exciting stuff. The characteristics and qualities of the planets of a planet are derived from a combination of the various facets of its nature. Thus, a planet is first described by its temperament, its primary qualities, gender and sex, and malevolence or benevolence. To these basic characteristics are added others of a mytho-symbolic nature. Mytho, not mytho, symbolic nature. Many of the practical expressions of the planet, for example, Venus, the goddess of love, and Mercury, messenger of the gods, as well as some characteristics of astronomical content, color, brilliance, velocity, cycle, etc., are included. The nature of the planets thus results from a combination of all these descriptive levels. Below is the description of the natures of each of the 7 traditional planets. And we're going to start at the top with Saturn, the slowest planet, and the outermost planet in the Chaldean order. Saturn. Saturn is a diurnal, masculine planet, dry and cold. It is associated with the earth element and the melancholic temperament. Saturn is the most distant and slowest of the 5 traditional planets. Its distance makes it a symbol of cold, austerity, and hardness. In this respect, Saturn represents isolation, distance, and limitation, but also responsibility and seriousness. Its pale brilliance represents night and darkness, all that is black, sinister, and obscure, and by extension, fear, the occult, and evil. Seen another way, it also represents deep thought, making it a symbol of memory, reflection, and strategy. The slow motion of Saturn makes it more representative of time, maturity, old age, decline, and finally, death. Thus, Saturn becomes a planet of antiquity. Whether as the wise and respected sage or as the decrepit and senile old man. It is also a symbol of containment, frugality, structure, hard work, and austere actions that demand order. These actions always imply responsibility and duty. Saturn is the greater malefic, and because its nature is cold and dry, it is contrary to life, which is hot and moist. It is considered a malefic because it limits, concludes, and causes decline. In its dignified expression, it signifies depth, severity, and rigor. It represents reserve, thriftness, strategy, and patience. In a more debilitated expression, Saturn represents miserliness, pettiness, fear, jealousy, and malicious actions. It also symbolizes stubbornness, mistrust, and pretense. Time for Jupiter. Jupiter is a diurnal, masculine planet, moderately hot and moist, and is associated with the air element and the sanguine temperament. Jupiter is one of the most brilliant planets in the sky, only surpassed by the brightness of Venus. Its radiant and luminous expression, in combination with its slowness and distance from Earth, make it a symbol of harmony, well being, and kindness. In many mythologies, Jupiter is associated with the heavenly king. Its tempered nature, its role as mediator between the extremes of hot and cold, Saturn and Mars, and its clear radiance makes Jupiter a symbol of the intermediary and the intermediate thing. Intermediary diary, intermediary. So many new words. Um, and legislator. It makes Jupiter a symbol of the legislator. He who promotes temperance, Jupiter, thus symbolizes moderation, justice, religion, law, and magnanimous actions. I know that word. Magnanimous actions. Because it is a slow moving planet, Jupiter is one of the chronocraters or markers of time, as is Saturn. Because it is, their conjunction cycles represent important changes in societies and civilizations. Don't they ever? This planet is known as the Greater Benefic because its moderately hot and moist nature is beneficial to life. This fact makes Jupiter the representative of abundance, growth, and balance. In its dignified expression, Jupiter represents modesty, sobriety, and justice. It expresses magnanimity, magnanimity, magnanimity. Oh my God, sometimes words. I know the word. Anyway, okay. It expresses magnanimity, loyalty, and daring. It is a symbol of the aspiration of high ideals reached through honorable and just means. Honor, nobility, and religiosity belong to its nature. It also represents indulgence, generosity, and charity, and its actions are direct and moderate. Jupiter's debilitated expression gives rise to extravagance, obstinacy, and fraudulent actions, and hypercritical religiosity. It can be pompous, boastful of knowledge and status it doesn't possess, and expresses itself in a rude manner. It can represent ignorance and carelessness. Let's see. We'll go on to Mars. Mars is a nocturnal and masculine planet, excessively hot and dry. is associated with the fire element and the choleric temperament. Mars is the swiftest of the superior planets and has a characteristic of a reddish orange color. Due to its nature, Mars is a planet of action and courage, and its actions imply combat, struggle, challenge, and competition. It is thus associated with fire and war. This planet is known as the Lesser Malefic because its excessive nature makes it incompatible with life. Mars is thus representative of violence, conflict, aggression, and destruction. When dignified, it is defiant, daring, and confident, and unflappable. It puts victory above all else and often risks itself. It is combative, valiant, and a lover of war and bellicose things. Bellicose. There's a B, not a H. Bellicose things. It does not submit itself freely to anyone or anything and likes to announce its actions. When debilitated, Mars expresses itself through boasting and immodesty. It goes from being combative to becoming a bully, getting involved in confrontations, disrespect, and violence. In extreme cases, it is turbulent, precipitous, and careless, shows no respect for others, and can be ungrateful, covetous, and greedy. The sun. The sun is the lord of the day, is masculine, and its nature is moderately hot and dry. The sun is the king of the stars, the greatest luminary. It is the giver of light, heat, and life, a symbol of radiance, power, and force. It represents the creative principle and is a symbol of the divine. It is also a symbol of sight, since its light enlightens, revealing the truth. It represents dignity, nobility, and authority figures in general, and the father figure in particular. Its element is fire, but the fire of the sun is moderate. It illuminates and warms, in contrast with the fire symbolized by Mars, which destroys. Due to its qualities of moderation and light, the sun represents vital energy and the spirit, the principle underlying all things. However, if the sun is too close, it becomes excessive. Its light blinds and its heat consumes. When dignified, the sun represents fidelity, promises kept, and the ability to govern. It symbolizes prudence, good judgment, majesty, and status, and the search for fame, honor, and riches. It also indicates sumptuousness and magnificence. If debilitated, the sun indicates arrogant, prideful, and disdainful behavior when its mobility is false and its discernment weakened. Its manifestations are restless, disorderly, dominating, and inconsequential, and there's an underlying feeling of personal entitlement. Let's move on to Venus. Venus is a nocturnal planet. Its nature is moderately hot and moist, cold and moist according to some authors. It is associated with the elements of air and water. It is in the sanguine and phlegmatic temperaments. Like Jupiter, its tempered nature leads to fertility and growth. Venus is the most luminous planet in the sky, representing beauty, grace, softness, and delicacy. It is known as the Lesser Benefic. Venus symbolizes the principle of love, both conceptually and in the carnal sense of the term. Friendship, accord, fraternity, and sympathy are all under its jurisdiction, as is passion, sensuality, sexuality, dating, and marriage. Another aspect of Venus's expression is the playful side of life, games, entertainment, indulgences, and pleasures of all types. In its negative aspect, it represents the distortion of all those facets. And thus, it equally indicates luxury, licentiousness, superficiality, and vanity. When dignified, Venus suggests peace and serenity. All actions are realized in good faith without malice or distrust. Its expression is pleasant, composed, and joyful, although not given to work or effort, and little attention is given to intellectual questions, disputes, and discussions. It symbolizes love and play and artistic matters, particularly with regard to music. In a debilitated state, Venus represents laziness, extravagance, unruliness, and bad company. It equally symbolizes greed, jealousy, infidelity, and licentiousness. Mercury. Mercury is a neutral planet. Its nature varies, assuming the traits of the position where it's located in the planet it contacts. Some authors state that it has a dry nature, which is isolated and does not interact with planets. Due to its variability, Mercury represents the principles of communication and contact. It is the messenger of the gods. Mercury symbolizes all forms of communication, transportation, commerce, and trade, as well as language, writing, and education. It also represents the intellect, which is responsible for these activities. When in a dignified condition, Mercury represents the subtle and strategic intellect, debate, eloquence, discrimination, and cultural refinement. It leads to the investigation of mysteries and the knowledge in a perceptive and shrewd manner, and represents the ability and desire to learn, and a love of travel and desire to see other places. Mercury also represents curiosity, in, ingenuity, and commerce. When debilitated, its actions are frenetic and argumentative, leading to discord. It represents a disorganized mind that can indicate a teller of tall tales or of easily deceived fool. In the extreme, it represents deception, malice, shallow conversions, shallow conversation, lies, and boasting. Another aspect of a debilitated Mercury is provocation, mockery, and derision. It's time for the moon. The lady of the night is feminine and of a cold and moist nature. The moon is the queen of celestial bodies, the lesser luminary. Its symbolism is intimately connected with the sun, its consort and counterpart. Like the star king, the moon is the symbol of life, representing organic life, biological forms, and matter as a counterpart to the solar vitality. The moon represents the cyclical process of birth, growth, and decay, which the sun nourishes with its vital energy. This symbolism of the moon is directly related to the moon's phases. The new moon associated with birth, the waxing phase to growth, the full moon to fullness, and the waning phase to decline, and the balsamic to death. I just added that. Due to its apparent fluctuation, the moon indicates change, variability, and inconsistency. The light reflected from the moon makes it a symbol of mirrors and of the soul. Due to its moistness, the moon is a symbol of the feminine. All feminine figures are under its jurisdiction: mother, wife, queen, etc. The public and the masses are also represented by the celestial body. It represents the average person as well as the populace. That's more for horary. When uh, when dignified, and that's actually for kings too. Like if you're, yeah, it's for all things. Anyway, when dignified indicates kindness, love of liberty, novelty, and the propensity for change. It suggests adaptability and the capacity to learn any task. The moon's actions are oriented towards the present, but have a hesitant and tentative quality to them. When debilitated, it represents the drifter and the inactive or lazy people, and also the drunk or the lunatic who lacks status or ambition. In the extreme, the moon depicts inertia and passivity. Okay, that's it for this chapter. I mean, there's more to the chapter, but that's it for this section of the chapter. Okay.